All right, 5-6. This warm-up says to graph the line, so you need two pieces of information to graph your line. It is in slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b, because it starts with a y equals. So we can just pull the information we need directly from the equation. So your slope is the number in front of your x, which in this case ends up being a -1. So we are going to make our slope -1 over 1, which will end up going down from left to right. Then your starting point is going to be your y-intercept, which means your x has to be 0, and then whatever b is ends up being your y-coordinate, which is -4. So that's where you start. You drop down 4 on your y-axis, and then you apply your slope, which is down 1, right 1, or up 1, left 1. One at a time, going down from left to right. And that's it. All right, so we've said a million times that the two things we need to graph a line are the slope and the starting point, okay? The question comes when we don't have the equation in the right form to give us that information, then we have to do something before. So the fact that this equation started with y equals put me in the right position to be able to find my slope and my y-intercept. But if it doesn't say y equals, then it's not the same information, and you can't just pull random numbers from the equation and say that that's my slope and that's my y-intercept. It has to be with the y by itself in order for all of it to work. So that's what we're going to practice today. So it's still slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. But that's just the thing, is it has to say y equals in order for it to be in slope-intercept form, okay? So if you are given an equation that's not in slope-intercept form, you're going to start by isolating, getting it by itself, isolating the y. Okay, so if you read this equation, if the goal is to get it into slope-intercept form, if the goal is to graph it, then you need to put it that way. So the equation used to say y equals. When you read this equation, y equals is not the first thing that comes out of your mouth. You still have this 3x plus y equals -2. So we're going to solve for y. So that means you're going to subtract 3x from both sides because you want to move the entire term over. If you subtract the 3x, you are left with a positive y equals. In slope-intercept form, we like to put the term with the x first. So when we solved for variables back in chapter 3, we said, okay, -2 and -3x aren't alike, so we just put them in a string. We just said -2 minus 3x, which is okay, but for proper slope-intercept form, we're going to put the x first. So we have a -3x and then a -2. Okay, you can't put them together. When you read this, your equation says y equals, which means it's in slope-intercept form. The point of that is that now you can say, okay, my slope is -3 over 1, my starting point is 0, -2. Now you could go ahead and graph it if you wanted to. But that information was not the same in the original equation. You can't just always pull the number in front of the x and call it your slope unless the y is by itself. Okay, so we look here. Again, the y isn't by itself, so we're going to have to start by moving the 2x over. The 2x itself is positive, so to move it, you're going to subtract it from both sides. When you do that, you still have a -y equals -2x minus 3, because you put your x term first. However, when I read this, y equals is not the first thing I say. Negative is the first thing I say, so that's not ready to go. There is still a -1 in front of this y, so you have to divide by a -1. So this is gone, so you have y equals. You have to pretzel this. That's a me term, that's not a real thing. You have to divide each term on top by the bottom. So -2x divided by -1 is a positive 2x, and a -3 divided by a -1 is a positive 3. Now this says y equals, now it's ready to go. Your slope is positive 2 over 1, and you would start at 0, 3. But again, none of that information was available to us until we got the y by itself. Okay, so I'm looking at this equation, and I'm supposed to be graphing it. So I need my slope and my starting point in order to graph it. This is not ready to give me either of those pieces of information because my equation doesn't say y equals. So I have to start by getting it that way. Right now, y is being multiplied by -2, so we have to divide everything by -2. So it's gone over here, and we have y equals. On the right, you have to divide every term by -2, so we're going to pretzel it. So 6x divided by -2 is a -3x. 4 divided by -2 is -2, so we're just going to put -2. When I read this, it says y equals, which is what I wanted, which is great. Now I can get the information I need to graph it. So my slope is the number in front of my x, which is -3. I make it a fraction by putting it over 1. That's negative, so the line should end up going down from left to right. My starting point is 0, and then whatever my y coordinate is, which in this case is -2. So I start down at -2 on the y-axis, and then my slope is -3 over 1, so I'm going to go down 3, right 1, or up 3, left 1, as many times as I want until I think I can get a neat enough line. And double check. Is that line doing what we wanted it to do? It is coming down from left to right, and 3 over 1 is a relatively steep slope, so that looks right. Okay? This does not say y equals, so we have to do that first. We have to move the 2x as a whole, so we're going to subtract 2x from both sides, which leaves us with a positive 3y equals -2x plus 6. Watch your signs. The 2 was the negative, the 6 was positive, so we do plus. My y still isn't by itself, so now I'm going to divide everything by 3, which gives me a y equals. When I go to pretzel this, 2 is not evenly divisible by 3. However, it is the number with my x, which means it's going to end up being my slope, and I want my slope to be a fraction anyway, so I'm going to leave it -2 over 3x. That's perfectly fine because it's my slope. And then my y-intercept, I can write it whatever's easiest to do. So this is 6 divided by 3, which actually comes out evenly as 2. Ooh. From here, you get all of your important information. Your slope is -2/3, which will be going down from left to right, and our starting point is 0, 2. So you move on over, 0, 2, so up 2 on the y-axis, and then -2/3, so down 2, right 3, or up 2, left 3, and then you can connect. This is going down from left to right, which is what I wanted it to do, and now you're done. Okay? All right, the only other thing we're going to do is write our own equations. So writing the equations, you need the same information that you would to graph it, right? You need the slope and you need a place to start. So this one gives me my slope, so that's my m. So y equals mx plus b. I need a number for m and a number for b, and you're going to get sick of hearing me say that because this is the theme of the chapter, okay? You need a number for m and you need a number for b. Slope is your m, so we already have that. B is the y-coordinate of the y-intercept. You know that this is your y-intercept because the x is 0, so a positive 4 is your b. So all you have to do is plug it in. So y equals 5x plus 4. So y equals mx plus b with a number for m and a number for b. Slope is your m and your y-coordinate of the y-intercept is your b. Same thing here. Okay, I have a graph, which is fine. I just need to pull the information from the graph. So y equals mx plus b, number for m, number for b. So you're going to define 2 points where it crosses exactly in order to help you find your slope. So here I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Down is negative. And then right 1, 2, 3, 4. Right is positive. So my slope, or my m, is a -5/4. And then my y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis, which is 0, 1, 2, 3. So then that makes my b 3. And then I can easily write my equation because I have m and I have b. So y equals -5/4x plus 3. So no matter what you're given, you need m, you need b, and you write your equation from there. 5, 6. Bye, guys.